Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me well. So, I welcome all of you to the new batch of UI and UX design. So, brief introduction about me. I'm Savinder Rukshan. I'm working as freelance UI and UX consultant. I have like 12 plus years experience in UI and UX field. I want other students to introduce themselves as well. So I can see there are three students. We can start with Heshan. Hello.
Hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Keshan Gunasekara. I'm an interior architect, and I joined this program to explore about UI UX. This is a new phase of online stores. So, and physical. As an interior architect, I studied about physical stores, deciding how to design them. Now, his website is a physical virtual space to the those spaces. So that's why I joined to this program to study further about UI UX.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next, Purnima. Introduce yourself and tell me why you joined with this project. What is the purpose? Okay, no worries. Purnima says her mic isn't working. We can go to Pereira or anyone online. Even Ekta, I don't know how to pronounce her name. I'm sorry. So anyone in the
So,
team can
hi,
introduce themselves. Yeah.
hi. Actually, that Ekta Sorelas is one of my friends. I couldn't remember my Zoom. Um,
Okay.
Actually, my name is Yazir. Uh, I work as a freelance graphics designer. Yeah,
Okay.
and I am trying to get into UI UX because most of my clients they want me to get into it, and it's the newest trending. How do I say, the field in
Mm-hmm.
this dimension of all these designs and all. So because of that, I would like to learn. Yeah,
Okay. As a graphic designer, are you doing print design or digital designs?
I do both actually.
Okay.
I do kind of hybrid.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Then anyone else? Nishani, introduce yourself and tell me why you joined this program. Or Senuri or anyone. Nishani, can you introduce yourself to the team? Okay. Okay. Senuri, what about you? All right, then let's start the session. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So let's first go to the topics we cover in each week. The program actually consists of 5-week lessons. The fourth week, we are going to give you an assignment based on what you have learned in the class. So you have to do your own design using Figma or any other design tool and submit the design. So I will evaluate it and give you critical feedback regarding your design. So in the first week, I'm going to do the introduction to UI and UX. We are going to talk about what is UI and UX job roles in the industry, then essential UI and UX technical skills and how to improve as a designer, and then how to think like a UX designer, and also what is a UX portfolio and how to create your portfolio, because portfolio is the most important thing when you are trying to get a job or trying to get a new project from a client. And then we are going to do introduce you to Figma, widely used design tool these days. There are other tools such as Adobe UX and also Sketch app for Mac, but Figma is the uh, tool we are using in our course because it is widely used and uh, you can easily sign up as well. So introduction to Figma, then Figma design essentials, then industrial Figma design practices and techniques, where we're going to discuss about design systems, how to create components and so on. Then design presentation techniques. So in that topic, we are going to discuss about how to present your design to different clients or your team by using prototype, high fidelity, low fidelity. So we are going to discuss about that. Then UX process, introduction on UX process and methods, practical application of UX design process, design thinking techniques, user research and user interviews, creating personas, creating paper wireframes. So most all of these are UX research process. So in order to do your design, in order to start your design on Figma, you have to go through all these steps if you want to become a successful designer, and or even if you want to create a successful product. So we are going to follow all these steps before we jump on and start the design on Figma. So the introduction to UA design tools, and finally design testing. Then in the final week, we are going to discuss about how to become a successful UI and UX designer. I'm going to give you a few design rules, principles, best practices, and tips for great UI design. And finally, how to get your first UX design job as a full-time employee or as a intern or even as a freelancer. And finally, 20 design tips for success in your first UI design job. So let's start with first presentation. Okay, Nishani sent a message saying she's an HR executive and she wanted to gain some skills which I can work as a freelancer with current trend. Okay, great. Okay, let's open our presentation. Yeah, as I said, the course content for this one is introduction, then UX process part 1 and part 2, which we cover in 2 weeks. Then UI design with Figma, and finally become a successful UI and UX designer or an engineer. So in the meantime, when I'm doing the presentation, if you have any questions regarding the slides or regarding the things I say, if anything isn't clear, you can ask a question by switching on your microphone, or you can send a message on group chat, on Zoom chat. So what is UX? So UX can, like we can describe it, UX stands for user experience, how people interact with a product. It can be a digital product or a physical product. So for example, let's say you have this bag of chips. So how is user going to go to their goal easily? So without many roadblocks. For example, let's say another example, a digital example. Let's say you want to send money to some of your friends. So your end goal is to send money to this person, but when you open particular banking application, the user flow uh, should be seamless. So you should be able to achieve your goal without any issue, without any roadblocks, or without any frustration. So that is the duty of a UX designer, to streamline this user's process and think as a user. So you should always think as a user. We call it user-centered design. So UX is actually stands for user's experience when they interact with your product. So here, what is UX? The process of enhancing the user satisfaction with the product by improving the usability, accessibility, and pleasure provided in the interaction with the product. So usability is, as I said, your application should be able to uh, give user uh, less roadblocks or less distraction, but you have to streamline the process to achieve their goal without giving them so many options, or without giving them so many advertisement or distractions or anything. The usability should be number one. Accessibility is another thing. Accessibility is actually, we are designing mobile application or a physical product not only for particular set of users. We are designing it for everyone. So everyone, you have to consider everyone. So some people might have visual impairment, some people might have hearing impairment, and so on. So you have to include everyone in your design. So you have to think about every person who is going to interact with your design when you are doing a design for a physical or a digital product. And finally, if you can give them pleasure, if you can give them a wow factor in your design, they will continuously come back to your application and do the task, or do the thing that they want to do easily without any frustration. So you have a competitive advantage when comparing to similar app, especially when, let's say, you have a banking app. Then now all other banks have this kind of app. But if the banking app you are using is easy to use, it is good, it has good usability, good accessibility, and it gives you pleasure by giving you micro interactions and simple animations and easy to use and faster responses. So you will use that application when comparing to the one who don't have that kind of a UX. So here we are talking about usability. Usability is actually consists of these areas: learnability, efficiency, memorability, errors, and satisfaction. So let's take one by one and discuss each topic. Usability is a quality attribute that assesses how easy user interfaces are to use. Uh, yeah, one student is asking, do we get these slides? Yes, the administration will invite you to a Google Classroom. So I'm going to put all the slides and lecture recordings there, so you can refer to them later. So these are some day-to-day apps used in Sri Lanka, and also some social media apps as well. So here we have some electricity board app, and also mobile service provider, banking applications, ride sharing, and advertisement, and also e-commerce applications and Google applications, and also social media and audio sharing and VoIP applications. So I'm pretty sure that most of you are interacting with these applications in daily basis, specifically the social media applications or Google and Chrome, Google Maps, and so on. So I want to know from students, what are the applications that you are using daily, and what is your most uh, used application, and why do you like it? Can someone give me uh, yeah, let's do it this way. Tell me one application you are using in daily basis, and Tell me, why do you like it and why you choose it when comparing to other competitive applications?
Actually, I use the Nation Trust Bank app.
Okay.
It's very easy to use compared to I have other banking apps as well, but I don't know, for some reason it is very easy and it's very aesthetic to look at. There's nothing much going. It's very minimal, simple design and colors are nice. So it's kind of a, I would say, because of the minimalism, it's easy to use, and even the transferring of money and all that is very easy. They have done a good job in their design.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Anyone else? Heshan?
Actually, I'm most to say a little about the dialogue. Actually, when I'm using that app, I'm feel that they are not doubt about their service, because that app is so stuck and kind of kind of stucky situation there. So then they are the one who providing service, but they are not be able to provide better fast working flow with their app. That kind of feel I have. So I use dialogue app consistently, but all the time I'm using, I feel that thought about that app.
Yeah. So even I think everyone will agree with that. Dialog app is buggy, and also if you want to do something really quick, if you want to pay a bill or activate a new data plan, it will take some time. So you have to have good patience to use that app. So a good example of negative user experience. Thank you, Hesha.
Okay.
And then Nishani. Okay. Nishani sent a message. I prefer if you can switch on your microphone and interact with each other in the classroom. But anyway, let's read the message. WhatsApp says Nishani, it's the easiest app to chat, call others. Okay. Purnima says Chrome app, it is fast and easy to use. Okay. And then we have Senuri. What is your favorite application and why do you like it? And we have another student joined, Vijay Mala. So can you introduce yourself and tell me why you joined this course? Okay. Another student saying WhatsApp because of the end-to-end encryption makes it more secure. So that person is cared about security of the application. All right. Now then, let's continue with our presentation. So most of us have good experience by using these applications, and some of us have bad experiences, but we don't have any choice. If we have that kind of a mobile service provider, we have to use that applications because we can't, it is a hectic thing to call the customer service and do the task, but you have this application, you have to use it somehow. So when comparing to other applications, especially Uber, or Pick.me, or any other application, I think the application used in Sri Lanka in day-to-day basis, Dialog has most negative reviews when comparing to others. Let's say take the second one. So the first is learnability. So learnability is how easy it for user to complete basic tasks in the first time. The user can quickly go from not knowing the system to getting some work done with it. So let's take social media application, Instagram, for example. So the first time you are downloading the application, you don't know how to interact with certain application elements, but their user flow is quite easy. You can just click on the post button and you can post whatever you like. And they are giving you introduction, introductions, how to add a post, how to uh, uh, caption it, and so on. So the user flow is easy, so you don't have to go through the learning process while using application. So you just use the application on the go. So learnability is important. And here, in order to increase the learnability of the applications, most of the applications, especially banking applications, they have this kind of a, we call it onboarding process. So onboarding process is something most of these applications have added. They tell what we can do by using this application and how to transfer money, how to add new account, and so on. So all the applications features will show to you at a glance when you are signing up to that particular application. And even here, we can put these kind of a tooltips. When you are hovering over specific area of the screen, it will show you what that particular part is doing, what is it for. So you can easily understand by hovering over specific parts of the application. So it is also a good user experience for a first-time user. So they don't have to figure it out themselves. The details and everything will be there presented to them when they are hovering over or interacting with specific interfaces of the application. Next one is efficiency. Efficiency is once users have learned the design, how quickly they can perform tasks. So efficiency. So one student mentioned about the Nations Trust Bank application. So once you get to know that this application is efficient and you compare it with other applications. So if it is efficient, you don't have to worry about learning how to do the task again and again. The first time you do it, the second time you do it automatically without worrying about performing tasks and memorizing them. So next one we comes to memorability. So when users return to the designing after period of not using it, how easily can they redo the task? So let's say we are taking a physical product for this example. Let's say you were driving a car or haven't got a chance to ride a bicycle for so long, for about 5-6 years, but still after that particular time period, you still be able to ride a bicycle without any issue. So that is memorability. You know how to make a digital product. That is the same. If you deactivate your Facebook account for some time, when you go back there, you still remember how to post, how to like people's posts and things like that. So memorability is another
Excuse me. I think
errors. So in
you're
errors, how
breaking
many
up.
errors? Yeah. Can you hear me now?
You're breaking up a bit. Like the past things, I couldn't hear you properly.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm outside at the moment. So let me know when did you heard me well, so I can continue.
I think memorability from there, not, like memorability, I didn't hear most of the stuff.
Okay, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I can.
Let me check my internet connection 1 second. I'm sorry, I'm traveling to this, so that is why I'm on a hotspot. So that might be
Oh,
the issue. Send a message if you have any uh, like unable to hear me or anything, so I can.
no worries.
Okay, thank you. So
Thank you very much.
memorability, yeah, sure. So memorability, let's say again, so when users return to the designing after period of not using it, how easily can they redo the task? So the example I took for that is a physical product. So let's say if you you have a bicycle, so you ride this bicycle for some time, and for some reason you haven't got a chance to ride the bicycle for 5-6 years. After 5-6 years, if you get the bicycle, you still be able to ride it without without learning it again from the beginning. So that is memorability. If we take a digital product for an example, let's say you deactivate your Facebook account for some time, like 1 year or so. But as soon as you reactivate your Facebook profile, you still remember how to interact with your friends, how to chat, how to like someone's post, and how to post your own pictures. So that is memorability. So memorability is also important factor when it comes to UX design success. And then we are talking about errors. How many errors do users make? How easily can they recover from the errors? Let's say contact form of a website or any other uh, application, for an example. So when users fill this form, if they make an error specifically in certain elements, for example, let's say when they input their email address, they make an error. They haven't add the @ or anything. So you have to give them an error. You have to prompt an error saying you should enter a valid email address or even a phone number. So errors, you should always let know your users what they are doing in the screen and how they can eliminate those errors. And finally, satisfaction. How pleasant is to use the design. Users are subjectively satisfied by using the system. So all these factors, and finally, you have to satisfy your users with the user experience and the design. So that in that case, the UI, user interface, and also user experience have to be uh, have to satisfy users and also give them the like what they expect. So if you are not giving them what they are expecting from the system, that is actually bare minimum. You should give what they are expecting. But if you can like give them a wow factor, for example, we can use micro interactions, animations to get their make them pleasant, they feel pleasant about your application. So they come back to your application and they have a good user experience regarding your applications when they are using it next time. So these are some examples of all these. So when we have this kind of layout, so we have micro interactions. So if you slide from left side, it will give you a message. If you want to delete it, or you can still undo the deleting process. So we have to give options for users to control their applications without an issue. So if you delete something, we have to notify them so that this message or this particular entry have deleted. Otherwise, they don't know how to, is it deleted or is it still there? And specifically when we are deleting or removing any entry from a user's system or a software or mobile application, we always notify them and get their permission second time whether they want to delete it. Otherwise, most of the users might have accidentally performed an action. So we just have to confirm before we proceeding with the process. And here is another example. We letting users know that their document or a picture is still uploading, and we show them the process. This is the process, and this much have uploaded. So they always know that this is something happening in the background. So it will notify them that is a good user experience. So now we are going to talk about accessibility. First, we talked about usability, and now the accessibility. So as I said earlier, accessibility is for there can be visually impaired people, motor impaired people, and hearing impaired people, and we can give them so many options by using present day technology. So principles of visual accessibility in design. So we have to increase visual accessibility. This is how we can do it. We have to pay close attention to colors and color contrast. font size and weights. Turn your article into audio. Do not forget about screen readers and be specific with your alternative text. So number one, pay close attention to colors and color contrast. So as you know, I think you already know, every color represent different emotion. For example, if we take green color, it bind with success. If we take red color, danger. If we take green color, as I said. So we have to pay close attention to the colors and color contrast. So if you have contrasting colors in your design, it improve the readability of your application. For example, let's say we have this white color background in our presentation and we have black color text. So that is contrasting. So you can easily read the content of the slide. So that is good readability and it is having good color contrast. So there are tools you can use, color contrast tools. So I will put them on Google Classroom so you can refer to them when you're doing a design. Please consider those as well. So because we are designing the application for everyone, people with visual impairment or any other impairment and normal people as well. So the next one, font size and weights. So font size and font weights also you need to consider specifically when you are doing a digital design for a website or a mobile application. You have to do your typography or fonts in a hierarchical way. So main text you have to use heading 1, heading 2 or any that kind of a size, and you have to select your font face for the body text as well. So one tool we can use for that is font. Let me go to I will show you some examples for each of these. Yeah, regarding the typography, we can use a tool like Typescale. So in Typescale, what you can do is you can select different fonts. For example, let's say we are selecting font, let's say Intergin. So it gives you all the font sizes of that particular typeface. So you can give them the body size, body font size. Let's say we are going 14, and it will give all the fonts in a hierarchical manner. So H1 should be if we take pixels, 41 pixels, and small font would be 9.72. So you can see the design on right-hand side as well. So this is a good tool to use when you are selecting your typography. You can select multiple typography for headings and body as well. Turn your article into an audio. So if you go to websites like BBC or CNN or any other news applications or even like journal articles or university websites, they have turn article into audio option in their website. But nowadays, most of the applications, especially the desktop or mobile applications, they come up with screen readers. So you don't have to put that on your website. You can use OS native screen reader to read the content on your application. So one thing you have to consider is you have to put meaningful content. So the screen readers will read them to the people with visual impairment. So they can hear it without an issue. What is happening specifically, let's say they want to fill a form. So how are people with visual impairments interact with this form? So you have to put meaningful text. First thing, if you are asking for name, you have to label it name. If you're asking for an email, you have to label it email. So the screen reader will read it and the people can easily either use the microphone and speech to text to type it, or they can ask someone else to do it for themselves. So don't forget about screen readers. So screen readers and also robots, or as you know that when we are putting a site online, specifically a website, Google will crawl your website and add it to their database. So that is basically how SEO works. So if you put alternative tags on your images and so on, it will beneficial in that sense as well as SEO. It will give you better ranking, and also people with visual impairment can read, like can hear what your image is about. Let's say you put an image of a landscape or something. So people with visual impairment can't see it. But if you add a meaningful alternative text there, they can easily read it, like hear it, and think this is about that particular place or something like that. So these are examples of form field design relies on red and green to indicate fields with and without error. Colorblind users cannot differentiate the fields highlighted in red. So these are the this is the form. So all the valid inputs are highlighted in green and invalid input in red color. So, but even if we can see this, people with visual impairment can only see these colors, like only one color. So they can't differentiate. So what we can do is we can, there's a application, let me show it to you as well, where we can test our designs for accessibility here. So then once you do the design, you can do colorblind test for different people. So you there are different filters you can put and test your design against different filters. Once again, I'm sorry about my internet connection today. Okay, here we have this URL, and we can select different colorblind filters and see how the design will present to the people with visual impairment, different visual impairment. So you can choose your colors accordingly. So these numbers are not visible to colorblind people. So you have to consider that as well when you are doing a design. So the use of icons and labels show which fields are invalid better communicates the information to the colorblind user. So they can, we can give them icons with status. For example, if it is a successful field, we can give them a tick icon. Otherwise, we can give them a cross icon and with a valid notification about the error they made. Here's an example of article to audio. So most of the news websites have that option where people with visual impairment can listen to the article without reading it. And here we have a contrast issue. So these lines of text do not meet the color contrast ratio recommendations and are difficult to read against their background colors. There are tools where you can test contrast of your elements. So I will put those in Google Classroom as well. So you can refer to those as well. And finally, when we change the color, like color contrast, it is contrast ratio. So the people interacting with your system will be able to read your text easily without any issue. And again, low contrast text is hard to read on desktop, but it becomes even more difficult on mobile. Imagine trying to read low contrast text on mobile device while walking in bright sunlight. Yet again, this is a good reminder that accessible visual design is better visual design for all users. So let's say you are developing an application. So okay, I will take one example from my own career. So once we decided to develop a Salesforce automation application for mobile users. So it comes with iOS as well as Android. So most of the users use this application outdoors. So in Sri Lanka, there is always sunny, and we have to consider about the uh, visual design as well as contrast ratio as well. So first we design it with a white color background and uh, without much contrast. So most of the users were complaining about they can't see this particular button, they can't add orders or anything. So what we did was we gave them very contrasting colors. Like we gave them two themes, dark theme and light theme. But in the light theme, we gave them contrasting colors. So white color background and very contrasting black color text or elements on top. So in that way, we eliminate the issue where they weren't able to see that on outdoors. So you have to always think who your users are and how they are going to use it. So that is why UX research process is important. So you interview users, you see them use your application, uh, and that is how you create a good application that users love. Here's another example. So in here, the image without useful descriptions. So this only says men's tea without any description. But in here, we have as a tall long line t-shirt with brand logo print. So it will give visually impaired people who looking into the website using screen readers a better description, and also for the users who can see still have better understanding about what the product is and what they can expect by getting this product with all these product details, product code, size and fit information. And as I said, the alternative text for the images you are putting on your website is important for screen readers, search engines, and if the image link is broken, we can still show the alternative text to the users without an issue. Here we have screen read text to speech, and also Siri or Google Assistant we can use to good effect when communicating with people with visual impairment. So when people have hearing issues, we can use transcript. I think you have seen them in YouTube, closed captions, and even in LinkedIn Learning, you have transcripts that goes with the video. So you can read them easily if you can't hear it. This is an accessibility checklist. So if you have any questions up to now, you can ask now. Send a message or you can ask through audio.
Just a question, Mr. When the most of this are done in Figma, and then as you said, Adobe XD,
Yeah.
and MacBook it's Sketch, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So for all these what do you call testing tools, does it work, or for different ones you use different stuff?
Yeah, actually, we are using Figma most of the time these days. So Figma comes with plugins for use. You can use to check accessibility and color contrast and everything on the go within the application. So I will introduce you to them as well when we are in the Figma next week. And if you take Adobe XD or any other application, I don't have much experience in Adobe XD, but in SketchUp also they have inbuilt application to test their usability as well as accessibility. But otherwise, if you don't have that in your tool, you can still take the output as an image, JPEG or PNG, and put it on online tools such as what I just showed you and test it there as well. So that won't be an issue when you are doing the design. Clear?
Thank you very much, Mr. Saminda.
Thank you. Okay. So here we are talking about website accessibility checklist. So the number one, provide alternative text for non-text content. So it can be an image, it can be a media, MP4 or video, or even with HTML5, it can be a canvas. So you have to put alternative content text for the non-text content. That is number one. So add captions or subtitles to video and audio content. So if you have like rich text, like video rich content in your website or application, you have to add closed captions and subtitles to the video, thinking about people with hearing impairment who are going to use your application. Number three, make content distinguishable with the help of color and contrast. As I said, your content should be stand out from the background. So you have to always select distinguishable colors between the foreground and the background. So if your background is white color, you have to select readable color, especially for example, for a newspaper, kind of like article-based website, you have to use black color. If you using black color dark theme, you have to use light color for your text. So readability is also important, the contrast. Ensure audio video volume control as well as mechanism to stop or pause audio video. So as a good practice, we are not loading our audio or video on the first load. So we are giving permission for users to play the video or uh, enable the sound. So you always have to make sure you don't surprise your users. So users expect to visit your website and they are not expecting a video to play in a like high volume. So you always have to make sure you don't do that. You always follow good practices in UI and UX design. And if there's a video, you have to give them a option to easily pause it or mute it, like they have in YouTube, or when we embed YouTube video to our website, that is normally comes with muted, and also you can give it to autoplay, but it is not recommend and it is not a good user experience, because most of the users might have, if we take Sri Lanka, they might have low internet connections. They are using metered data connections. So if they are visiting your website, all their data will be gone. So you always have to make sure you don't do that. Make all functionality available from a keyboard. So most of the websites, specifically when we are developing for a, let's say, okay, let's say we are developing a banking application or social media application. So all of the functionalities should be available on keyboard. So if the user's trackpad or mouse doesn't work, it should be able to navigate through the keyboard as well by pressing the tab key and arrow keys and so on, but an enter key. So you always have to bind those keys to your product as well. So in case of malfunction of their mouse or the trackpad, they can still navigate through your system without an issue. Give users enough time to read and use the content, no time limits. So another one, so so we don't, we call it sessions. So let's say you are trying to fill a form, or you're trying to add a credit card to check out your online e-commerce website. So in e-commerce website, if you don't give them enough time to read the description and read your terms and conditions and everything, the users will get frustrated. If you time them out, they won't come back and do the payment. So you have to give them enough time, and you have to give them time to read your terms or services or whatever the content you put in your website or application. Make text content readable and understandable. So another thing you have to keep in mind is we are not designing or developing an application, specifically designing for people like you. So most of you have an understanding about how web works, how you can navigate through a website, but real users won't have that kind of experience. Specifically, the elder generation, they sometimes don't know how to go to navigate back to home page, how to go back to the particular screen. So you always have to make sure uh, you give the content understandable for every user, not only for the tech-savvy users, but every user should be able to navigate through your system without an issue. So that is why your text content should be readable and understandable. So you don't have to use jargons, just use normal text uh, where everyone can understand. Provide ways to help user navigate, find content, and determine where they are. So provide ways to help users navigate. For that case, you can give them a navigation menu where you can highlight the active page. For example, if you are in, if the website has home, about us, contact page, if the user is in about us page, you can highlight that about us in the navigation and they know where they are. Find content, you can put a search bar so they can easily search for something and look for it in your website and determine where they are. Another thing we can use is we call them breadcrumbs. So you can add that to every page on top. So I will show it to you. So it is kind of like this. So how can I show it to you? Mhm. Okay, it has something like this. Let me. Let's say you are in the documentation of an application. So it first one is doc, the second one, and it provide Windows installation instructions. So the main website will be like this, and it gives you. Let me design it and show it to you. 1 second. So it has this kind of layout. So instead of with the navigation also, it has sub navigation where users can see where they are and where they came from. So they came from documentation to the Windows documentation. So they can easily navigate to documentation back by clicking on the documentation button. So I will give you more examples when we do the designs. Make pages operate in a predictable way. So when we are going to a website, we predict something. We expect certain behavior from that particular website. So you always have to make sure you give them a predictable behavior without giving them some unpredictable behavior. Specifically, as I said earlier, we don't do like autoplay videos. We don't put volume on video or media elements in the first score. So that is what users are predicting when they are operating with your website. And another example, if they do a payment for your e-commerce website, they are expecting a success or error message after doing the payment. So you always have to give them a success message or an error message if the payment doesn't go through. And even you have to send them an email and letting them know that the payment is confirmed and your order has been placed. So your pages should operate in a predictable way. Otherwise, users feel skeptical and they don't use your application next time. Help users avoid and correct mistakes. In here, in the form I have mentioned here. So here you can easily see that the email address is wrong. So we can give them a message saying enter a valid email address, and we can highlight it, and we can put a cross icon to tell them that this particular entry is wrong. So you have to tell them what is wrong and allow them to correct mistakes when they are submitting the form or any other application. Ensure compatibility with assistive technologies. So one thing is cross-browser compatibility as well as cross-device compatibility. So you don't have to worry much about this right now, because most of the frameworks such as Tailwind or even Bootstrap are taking care of most of this when we are developing. But as a designer, it is always a good practice if you are designing a website, give developers the design for desktop as well as mobile. So they easily know, otherwise the developer will do the design for mobile, which won't come up nice. So you have to give them the design for both, or even a tab will be great. So you have to ensure compatibility with assistive technologies. And also there are some technologies correctly. So this is closed captions feature. Language usually matches audio on and off at will. Subtitle. Yeah.
Mr. Savinder, I think you're breaking up again. Sorry. Hello? Hello?
No worries. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're breaking up. I think you're stuck now. Okay. It's working now. I can see the mouse moving slightly, but
Okay, can you hear me?
just now I heard you, but before that I
Oh.
couldn't hear. When you came to this slide itself, I didn't hear you. To be
Okay.
very
Yeah.
honest.
So website accessibility checklist was okay, right?
That was okay.
Okay. So the closed captions, we are talking about closed captions here. So for the hearing impaired people, we can use subtitles, closed caption, or open captions. So these are some features in each of these. Language usually matches the audio. In closed captions and open captions, language usually matches. Turning them on and off at will. You can use that in subtitles and closed captions. In open captions, which is hard-coded to the video or element, so you can't turn them off. Includes background sound descriptions. Subtitles don't, but closed captions and open captions do have. So if you are interacted with websites like YouTube or Netflix, you have come across closed captions and subtitles as well. Some of the videos or documentaries have the background sound descriptions while others don't have, and language matches the video, audio. So those options I think you have interacted with already. So this is another thing. So when we do the designs, we have to include everyone. So the localization is another thing we can do. So when we do a website, so if our clients are from these particular countries, for example, Spain or Latin America or Italy or Europe, we have to consider adding language support to our web application as well. So we can detect their IP address by their browser, and we can give them the content in this particular language, or we can give them an option to select the language they like. And also we most of the time a Chrome browser now comes up with a built-in translation, so you don't have to worry much about this. But if there's a specific requirement from a client, you always have to implement this as well. This is mobile and responsiveness. So we have to design for the mobile and also tab and also for the desktop computer. So it is a good practice to start with a mobile. So we call it mobile first design. So you know what are the must element that should be there, and move on to the larger screen, and you can put more elements or more graphic. But starting with mobile first is the best industry practice. Here, as you can see, the users can be disappointed by looking into application, or if it don't perform the way they expect, the users will disappoint and they won't use your application and don't visit your website ever again. So these here we can again discuss some things you like about particular application, and what do you think that how they can improve, and what do you like them to have in the future as well. So let's say let's take one example. Okay, if I take application like Uber, it is very simple when comparing to Picnic. So Uber application, it doesn't in Picme, it has all the services in one application, whereas in Uber, they have food delivering application inside in Uber main application, but with less features. So it is basically ride sharing application that supports food delivery as well. But when take Picme, it has all the applications. Sometimes the most of the users use it for the first time will get confused. So when comparing these two applications, the Uber has better user experience and better accessibility for all the users. So likewise, if you can compare two applications and tell me why you have chosen that when comparing to other in this section. So I invite the students who didn't talk much during the first session, and anyone can tell me about their experience. Tell me one application you use and tell me why you are using it. And when you compare it to other application, tell me why did you choose it and what is the competitive advantage you have by using that application and not the other one. Buddha, I can't remember your name. Ektas, what is your name?
Yazir, Mr.
Yazir.
Savinder.
Yeah. Can you tell? Yeah. Can you tell one example?
Yes, of course. Like in the previous session, the beginning of the session, I told about Nation Trust Bank application.
Yeah.
In that, compared to other applications, you don't, for example, when you want to transfer money, you need to type the person's name, then you need to type their account number, then the bank code, and maybe sometimes the branch. Yeah, that's how it works. And then you have to transfer. But in Nation Trust, you just put the account number and you just transfer. You don't need to put the name, the bank, nothing. It's just the account number. It detects by itself which bank, the banking branch, everything. One good, it's a really lot of people. I was noticing a lot of people from like the ones who do business, for example, since the world is running so fast, they don't have time to sit and type everything. So you just copy the account number, paste it, and you say 5,000 transfer on the spot, gone. But whereas commercial bank, you have to put everything, the name, then you need to put the bank, and then if it is internal, if it is for another commercial bank account, it's okay. You just put the account number.
Yeah.
But if it is like a domestic payment, like if I'm transferring from commercial to Sampat Bank, I need to put the entire detail, the person's name, then account number, the branch, the bank, everything, and why I am sending, what is the reason I'm sending. I have to put all those things.
Yeah,
So
I understand. Okay, that is a good example. Thank you. And
you're
anyone
welcome.
else want to add? Okay, let's move on to our next slide. UX and UI. So this is when we in a like nutshell, we call UI and UX look and feel, where UI is the look and UX is the feel. So in this course, we are going to talk about both of these, and the UX comes with UX strategy, UX research, information architecture, and testing. UX strategy is something that UX architect or UX engineer would do in your project. So they come up with this particular strategy. This is how we going to conduct our user research. This is how we're going to do the designs, user interviews. So we come up with a strategy for the whole project and start the project based on that. And user research is another step in that process. So we interview different users we think that who might be our end users. So we interview them, we ask them several questions. For example, let's say we are developing ride sharing applications. So we are asking them, are you using any ride sharing applications? So what are the problems you are facing? What are the things that you like about that application? So what improvements do you suggest? So those are some questions that we can ask when we interview our end users or a particular set of users. So we gain some understanding about users' goals and their pain points, and we can do a better design, better product to address all those issues. And information architecture is another thing that UX engineer will come up with. So it is actually the representation of data and the information in your system. So the hierarchy of design, the search bar should be here, and all the data should represent in this particular manner. We should first display the landing page. The landing page should have these functions. So those are the information architecture of a mobile application. If we take a website, e-commerce website, so we will say, are we going to display product on home page, all the products on home page? Search bar, what are the options we can give them to filter certain products? So those are the things that consider when come up with information architecture. And finally, testing. So even from the beginning, when we do user interviews, after first user interviews, we come up with wireframes. So we will discuss about them in detail in later sections, but roughly when we come up with wireframes, we send these wireframes to those people we interview with or any other users. And then we ask them to perform certain actions by using those wireframes physically. So if there are any roadblocks, if they are having any issues, we can correct them. And then again, we can refine our wireframes and give them to perform actions. So after that, after we run several rounds of iterative processes for wireframes, we can do low fidelity prototype where we take the wireframes, the final wireframes, and design it in more presentable manner to users and stakeholders of the application. And finally, after we get the approval from the stakeholders, clients, and also most importantly, user approval, we are doing the high fidelity design and the interactive prototype, where we again take them to the users and test our design and understand the user flow and streamline the user flow and make it easier for them to use it, use the application. So that is the UX. And if I take the UI, we have color theory, typography, design patterns, and interactivity and animations. Color theory is, as I said earlier, every color comes up with different human emotion. So we are going to talk about those emotions that bind to different colors later. So that is one thing. And also typography. Typography, you have to select typeface to match your particular domain. Let's say, for example, you are designing a website for your target users are kids. So you have to select different kind of a typography for them to make them more interact with the system. So if your target users are corporate clients, specifically we are designing a banking application or anything for corporate users, so you have to come up with a good clean typeface that matches the corporate clients, your end users. So typography selection is also important. And also make sure when you are selecting a typography, you use that typography in everywhere, like they are print design, they are every brand. So if you are using one typography in the website, one in their mobile application, one in printed material, that won't give you a good branding advantage when we comparing to someone who has branding guidelines in place. So always make sure to do that. And another good practice is to always use Google fonts or Adobe fonts, which are widely available. Because let's say you are designing a website with a custom font, but you have to load this custom font to the server and then load it from your own bandwidth. So if you have Google font implemented, it won't take that long and it is widely available. And also you can tell the other designers, co-designers, this is the font I'm using. So they can also easily implement the design by using the same font. So it has so many advantages to use fonts such as Google Fonts or Adobe Typekit, but Adobe Typekit is paid, but Google Fonts are open source. You can use it anywhere. So interactivity and animation is also UI. So in UI design and UI and UX design career, we have a separate career for this as well. Interaction designer, someone who comes up with the animations and micro interactions for your buttons. So it will give users interactive feeling. So they feel that we are interacting with certain elements. So they know they press this button, the color will be changed and the text will be changed. It can change the size. So we have to add that interaction to make users feel good and engage with our system. So in between these two, we have empathy. So it is actually for both of these. So empathy should be there. So when you do the use, it's a research and UX strategy and come up with the design, you first have to empathize with your users. So you know what are their pain points. What are they going to achieve by using your applications? So how we can improve their user flow. So you have to empathize with your users. And second one, collaboration. Collaboration in terms of you can collaborate with your fellow designers, fellow developers, your team members and stakeholders, as well as actual users when you are interviewing them. So if you have a good collaborative design, it will give you better experience, better return on investment when comparing to the one who don't have much collaborative effort during the designing process and design thinking. So if you So in order to become a good UI and UX designer, you have to practice design thinking. So let's say if you have good problem solving skills, if you can empathize with users and you can build a storyline for several users. For example, let's say we call them user personas. So if you can think like a user and try to understand their problems and come up with a good solution to address their problems, that is design thinking process. So I will describe you the design thinking process exactly, the each step later on this presentation. Right now, in order to become a good UI and UX designer, you need to have good design thinking capabilities as well. And finally, prototyping. As I said, when you do the wireframes by getting users' inputs regarding the design, then we have to come up with low fidelity prototype where we present our design in like high level, very low level manner actually. So we don't use all the colors we are using, don't use all the interactions, don't use all the elements, but we are trying to give them a message. These are the basic capabilities of this particular application or of this particular screen, what they can use. And finally, by improving that low fidelity prototype, we can come up with a high fidelity prototype where we present to our ones and give the development team to develop the application based on that prototype. So UX strategy. UX strategy is used to create an understanding between designers and the goals of the business. Product and feature. More specifically, it's a document of guide organization.
So Saminder, you're breaking up again.
Product and objectives. UX strategy is the process that should offer. Okay. Can you hear me well now?
Just now I heard you, that part.
Okay. Okay. So we were talking about UX strategy. So as I mentioned here, so it is also creating documentation that we create to do the understand business goals, product features, and guidelines for the design. So UX strategy is the process that should be started first. So no matter how your client pressure you, you always have to start with UX strategy, because otherwise, if you start off with the design first, it will give you so much issues. For example, if you start with design itself, you have to go back and forth every time the user or a client asks for a change. But if you have a UX strategy in place, you can always follow the documentation and tell the client that these are the steps we follow, and this is how we get the final outcome. And you can always refer to that document as a blueprint of your UX design project. And then we have, this is a UX strategy example. So the first thing you have to do is you have to understand your users. You need to understand who your users are and what market fit your product has. So once you come up with an idea, once your client or someone come up with an idea, before you start the design, before you start the process, the first thing you have to do is you have to understand your users. If you don't understand your users, at the end of the day, even if you put so much effort and developed and design the product, it won't be successful. So first thing, you have to remember that you are developing or designing this application for the users, and you have to have a good understanding about that users and what market fit your design have. So you have to do a competitor analysis. What are the competitors doing and how they engage with users and what users like about that particular competitor applications, what they don't like. So you have to consider all these when we start with the UX design process. Understand your value. You need to understand your product's value. So we call it value proposition. So after doing the user research, after understanding who your users are, then you have to do the competitor analysis and understand the value of your application in the market. So you can do user interviews, you can do awareness campaigns to understand people, are people looking for this kind of application, what other applications are lack of, and how we can get users from that particular applications to use our application rather than using that. So you have to have a good strategy for all these. So know how you solve the problem. You need to understand how your product actually solve those key problems. So after you understanding your users, your value, you will face some problems. You will have a list of problems that users and the markets face. So you have to have a process to come up with the better solutions, come up with the solutions to solve those problems that users face. Have a clear vision. You need to know where you are going. Having a clear vision helps you work on what's the most valuable. So as you develop the UX strategy, you have to prioritize best parts of your application. So if you are doing application for the first time, we have to give them the like basic usability, like basic useful application. So let's say we call it minimum viable product. So minimum viable product is something we give users with one or two features without all the features. So one or two basic features we give them, and we are testing whether they like our product. Are they using this product to perform this task? So is it viable for the market? Is it viable for the users? So have a clear vision is also important, and you have to prioritize your features that you are going to put in the different stages of your application launch, alpha launch, beta launch, and so on. Continuous feedback and iteration. You need to have constant feedback through data and customer interaction to continuously iterate and improve. So if you do a design and if you put it into a market, that is not the end of the UX designer's job. So you have to continuously look through the screen recordings and also look through the heat maps of particular websites and understand what users are doing. Are they performing the actions that you have implemented in the way that you expected? Or is there any way that we can improve our application? So I can give you one example. So we can install applications such as Clarity or Hotjar in our applications where we can track user interactions. So we know how users interact with particular screen, and we know if they run into some error. We know that if they how we can improve, how we can eliminate those errors. So I will show you one example. Let's take this user. So we can see how he is interacting with our system. He's an Android mobile user. So this is one application we did recently for a lost and found company. So we can see what are the issues that they are facing when they are filling the application. What are the areas that they are pressing. So how we can improve. So we continuously view those videos and try to improve our design and user flow based on users' inputs. So another application is Hotjar. It is similar. So we can implement that to our end product and put it into market. So continuous feedback and iteration to improve our design. The next one is user research. User research is used to understand the user's needs, behaviors, experience, and motivations through various qualitative and quantitative methods to inform the process of solving for users' problems. So the user research is about understanding the users and their behaviors and experience and also motivations. So the qualitative and quantitative methods, qualitative methods we can use Likert scale. For example, we can give them, are you satisfied this way, your experience? We can give them 3 phases: no, somewhat, or yes. So if they select one from that, we can take that as a qualitative method and yardstick. And in quantitative, we can always refer to what I just showed you. So these we can look into these numbers, quantities, and we can make our decisions. How many dead clicks are there? How we can improve from that? How many rage clicks? How many users are using particular platform, mobile applications? Where are our users coming from? Where, what screen they are eliminating the process. So what they don't like about the application. So we have to consider all these when comparing the user research. So this is actually when we are building a new application, we don't have any data in our application. In that case, we have to go to Google Trends or any particular research paper or competitors analytics, and compare those qualitative and quantitative data to gain insights to develop a better application for our users, user research. So here are some factors that user research help. It helps us to figure out problems users have with the interface, and also find out users' problems and needs, create a valuable and useful designs, identify early adopters. So as soon as you launch some application, let's say you are launching a crypto application or something with emerging technology. So early adopters is the ones who download your mobile application or who first visit your application. They are kind of like whistleblowers. So they are telling other users that this application is good or bad. So you always have to identify your early adopters and make them satisfied. So because if they don't like your application, they don't tell their friends or anyone in the industry that this application is good, or use this application or anything like that. So you always have to make sure you satisfy them as well. So if your application is buggy, if your application has so many design flaws or things like that, early adopters will reject your application, which will negatively affect your advancement. Analyze the market to check if your product fits the niche. So you, as I said earlier, if you are designing an application for a local market, you first have to consider, are people in Sri Lanka interested in using this particular application? Are they tech savvy, like are they technically literate to use this application? So you have to consider all these things. So yeah, and then learn about competitors' products. So we have to analyze our competitors as well. So that is how we create a good product without giving them giving users so many issues. By eliminating issues that competitors have, we can create a good product for our users. Validate your business ideas and hypotheses. So in order to validate your business idea and hypothesis, you have to do the research and get idea about what users are expecting, what are the present market trends, how other applications are, other competitors are performing, how we can improve. Do we have any chance in the market? When is the best time to launch our application? So those are the things that you should consider. Measure the return on investment, ROI, for your UX design. So if you invest some amount of your design process and development process, how much time will you be able to get that money back? So for example, if you invest $1,000, how many orders should users make to cover up that amount? So you have to make sure that you increase your uh, increase give me 1 second. you have to make sure you should increase your profit and create your ROI strategy, written on an investment strategy, when you do the research, user research as well, UX research. Ensure proper navigation and the trouble-free user experience. So as I said earlier, your website should be accessible by every users on every device and in every screen size. So you have to give them proper navigation, trouble-free user experience as they expect. So that is also one thing to consider when you're doing user research. Okay, it's 10:30 now. Let's take a 10-minute break, and after that we will discuss about information architecture and other UX areas. If you have any questions, in the meantime, you can send me a chat or ask after the break. See you in 10 minutes. Okay, welcome back everyone. Do any of you have questions up until now? Can you hear me?
Mr.
Yeah, go
Mr.
ahead.
Sab, you mentioned regarding what do you call measuring the ROI.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have a tool for that, or it is in like a processive kind of a method?
Yeah, right now we don't have a tool because it is depending on the investment that you are making. You can make an investment on the design or advertising or anything. You have to just calculate the numbers and get the ROI.
Okay, so it is a more of a manual process kind of a thing.
Yeah, there will be automated processes, but right now there's one website called I will give you some links in Google Classroom.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Savi.
Okay, right. Anyone else? You can ask on Zoom chat as well if you are afraid to talk. Okay, let's move on. Let me share my screen. Okay, we were talking about UX research helps too, and then information architecture. Information architecture is like a blueprint, a visual representation of the product's infrastructure, features, and hierarchy. The level of details is up to the designer. So, information architecture may also include navigation, application functions and behaviors, content and flows. Does not set limit to the size or shape of IA. So it is depending on the project and also the UX engineer or UX designers requirement. So it is actually kind of UX research and then blueprint. So it is representing the infrastructure features that we want to implement and the particular hierarchy, page structure, how the elements should represent in particular page. So all these things will represent in information architecture. So application functions, behavior, content, user flows. So all these things will be done in the information architecture stage. So this is a flow chart for onboarding application. So here we have the starting process. So when we onboarding, it will ask us to register with SMS or Facebook or Google. So we have three options. So if SMS is the method, the verification code will be sent and the profile will be created. Facebook or Google, likewise, it will directly create the profile if you log in through Facebook or Google. So, and if they decline onboarding process, you can go location access. If declined in this particular application, we will take them back to the onboarding process because this application is based on the location. And then we show them the home screen. In the home screen, we have in this gaming application, we have treasures, nearby players, messengers, create activity, and we show them notification, nearby notification, and your own notifications. And it has a menu which has my friends, my favorites, collections, setting, activity, and so on. And there are multiple actions and screens, pop-ups, and tabs as well, where you can interact with your friend gamers and application features. So this is kind of complex user flow, but if you take a website, let's say we go to a website. So in here, we in a information architecture, we have intro, about, services, and cases as the navigation application, and we have a call to action button called Let's Talk. So in here we have the content. So these are static content, and these are the hierarchical text. This is the main text over the fold. So the user's attention will get to this part of the application. If they like the about the fold section, and they will scroll further and get the idea about the application and what it does, or the company and what its values, or what it does, services provider, and so on. The UX is everywhere, and the bad UX is everywhere. It is not just a digital UX. If you take a physical product, or even in the infrastructure, or even a building, there are so many bad user experiences you can see. So in here also, we have a cycle path, but it is a bad user experience. The cycler have to carry his bicycle and go to the other side of the road. So that is a bad user experience. This cup is also the same. It is kind of cute cup, but it doesn't do the task it has to do. Even here, it is not doing the thing that it's supposed to do. Here, I think you also have experienced this. TV remotes have so many buttons we are not using. So we only using 2 or 3 buttons. So if they come up with that kind of a remote, that will be easier. And even here, the numbering is different. So number 1 is second floor and so on. So that is not a good user experience. Users will get confused and frustrated and end up with a different flow that they doesn't want to go. And here also, it doesn't care about the people that using the ATM, just put there in the sake of putting it somewhere. Even here, the wheelchair person can't cross the road because of this curb. So this is also the bad user experience. So those are all bad user experiences. So I invite you to think as a UX designer. So when you are going to a place, when you are experiencing a physical product, a car, or any book, or whatever, even a pen, even a digital product, you can always think, is this a good user experience? Can it be better? How we can improve the user experience of this particular place, or application, or a product. So in that way, when some other project or a problem comes to you, when you are doing the design, you can easily solve the problem because you already experienced this similar kind of situation. So I experienced you to think as a UX designer in daily basis when you are interacting with different elements or places or products. So these are some UX job roles. Number 1 is UX designer, UI designer. UX designer is actually more into user experience, where they can do the user research and empathize with users, whereas UI designer is more into the designing aspect, so visual design. So when you are do the research and then gain the insights of the users as well as wireframes, the UI designer will come up with and do the visual designs of the application. UI and UX designer is kind of like mix of both of those. We can call them a unicorn, and UX and UI designer both, and UX manager with some experience in UX designing and UX research and collaboration as well as teamwork leadership. You can become a UX manager. UX researcher is primarily focused on the research aspect of the UX. If you are good with communication, if you are good with interacting with people, interviewing with them, and good with data and gathering data and representing and visualizing them, you can be a UX researcher. And UX writer is another thing. So when you are doing the design, you need a content writer. So content writer, if the content writer don't write content by following better user experience guidelines, the content that your website or application will have will not match your web application. So you always have to hire a UX writer who has experience in UX as well as the writing. So they will think in users' perspective rather than their own angle. So UX architect. So as I said earlier, with experience in UX designer and UI designer and managerial experience, as well as if you have experience in coding, you can become a UX architect. So that person can be in a team. There will be one UX architect. He can decide on how the hierarchy should be in your visual representation of the product or website, and also what elements should be there and how we represent, how the search bar should be, what are the filters we should give. So all those will be decided by the UX architect. Product designer is another thing. In most of the cases, even for the digital designer, in US or some other places, specifically in the companies, they use the term product designer as well. So when you are applying for particular job roles, or a project, one thing you can do is you can read the job description. So even they put the heading as product designer, they might looking for a UI or UX designer. So if it is not a physical product designer, you can apply. If you like physical product designing, you can still apply. Product manager is also similar. If you have much experience as a product designer, and if you have leadership skills, then you can collaborate and you can manage a team, you can become a product manager with experience. Product owner is something like this. If you have a product, let's say you have a product in your company, ride sharing application. So product owner is the one who is responsible for the whole app. He can be a product architect, he can be a designer, manager. So product owner, we call them PO, is responsible for the meetings and meeting with stakeholders and budgeting regarding the applications, awareness, and also marketing campaigns and so on. So the product owner is the one who is responsible for all those tasks. UI UX engineer. UI UX engineer, you can become a UI and UX engineer after you gain some experience, at least 5 to 6 years experience, or even less if you have done more products during that time. You can be a UI and UX engineer. That person will have experience in both designing, architect, as well as the product owner's duties, such as meeting with stakeholders and so on. So you can become a UX engineer as well. UI engineer is also the same, but it is more into designing aspects. UX engineer is more into research and user experience aspects. So these are some essential UI and UX technical skills and how we improve. Before that, I will take you to one website here. In PayScale or Glassdoor, you can find how different countries have different UI and UX positions. Here in US, you have UX designer position. So the salary, yearly salary will be this much, the median you can compare. And if you search for Sri Lanka, most of the time the data won't come up because most of the UX designers here don't update their salaries and those details in this platform. So if you select, if you are applying for a foreign job or if you're trying to migrate, you can always search here. And it will show you the entry-level salary and also experience and late career and so on. So if you have experience under 1 year, it will give you 68K. So you have to consider those as very different, drastically different when we compare in salaries here. But if you are applying for jobs in US or freelancing project in Singapore or any other country, this will be the salary range. So these are some benefits in US the UX designers get, and these are some popular UX design skills. So if you want to become a UX designer, you always have to search for what are the market is requesting, what are the demanding skills in the market. So these are some demanding skills in the market. You can compare the salaries. Interaction designer has much salary when comparing to user experience designer. So you can you can improve your skill. There's a thing called T skills. You have one skill that you have more experience in, and you have some other skills as well. So you can become an interaction designer with experience in UX design, UX research as well. Designing, if you are good in interacting with people, you can be a UX researcher. If you are good in visual design, you can be a user interface designer and so on. So design, leadership, strategy, content management, project management skills, those will benefit you to get a higher salary. If you have coding background, specifically HTML, CSS, or Angular, you can get a better salary when comparing to others who don't. So these are the career path for UX designer. After some experience, you can be a senior UX designer, senior product designer, lead UX designer, and also UX manager and information architecture, and so on. So I invite you to go through this site, and also you can go to LinkedIn and search for some job posts for UX designer or any area that you like in UX designing. And also in Google they have. So you can search what are the demanding skills, what are the recruiters are requesting. So you can develop your skills based on those demanding, what are demanding in the market. So these are some essential technical skills and how we improve. So if you want to become a good UX designer, you need to know somewhat graphic as well, especially visual designer. So vector and raster. So that is based on, if you know Illustrator, we can say that you know vector. If you know Photoshop or any raster application, so you can do a graphic design. So specifically in UI and UX design, we are not using those tools, but it is good to have graphic designing skills under your belt. But if you don't have graphic designing, it still doesn't matter, because nowadays most of the AI supporting applications, you just have to give the commanding and AI will create the graphic for you. So it is, if it is a customized UI or customized graphic design, you have to do from the beginning. Otherwise, you don't have to worry about that very much. And then UI designing, as I said, you have to have a good understanding about visual designing, color theory, and so on. So if you want to become improve as a UI and UX designer, these are essential skills. Video and audio editing. So if you want to present your users or stakeholders the prototype, you should have a good understanding, good knowledge about Adobe Premiere Pro, After Effects, or those kind of softwares. But it is not necessary, because most of the applications such as Figma supports interactions in their prototype, animation, smart animations, and so on. We will do that later when we are doing Figma prototyping. And then UX skills. UX skills in the terms of UX research, as well as empathize with users and competitor analysis. You have to develop that as well. Development skills, as I said earlier, you have to, you should have a coding background as well, because most of the companies, when they're hiring, they are looking for people who can design and code as well. So if you have basic understanding about at least HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, it will be beneficial for you when comparing to the person that don't have any coding skills. But if you have built skills in frameworks such as React.js, Vue.js, or Angular, and even CSS frameworks such as Tailwind, it will be an advantage for you when comparing to others. Soft skills. So soft skills is also important when we interviewing people for the UX or creative jobs. We always interview them. So first thing we do is we ask them for a portfolio. So when they send us the portfolio, in the initial interview, we ask them to go run through one project they did recently, and we ask them to describe their design thinking process, how they interview different users, why they choose this particular color and not this color, and why they represent this data, and why is his icons like this. And so visual elements, we are asking them questions just to get to know how is his design thinking process is, and he's a good fit. Do he have rationally when he come up with design choices and so on. So you have to always have a good communication skills and presentation skills as well if you want to become a successful UX designer. So these are some workplace skills. So most of you, if you like to work in a office environment, you should have collaboration skills, communication and presentation, prioritization and time management. Even if you work as a freelancer in remote basis, working from home, you should have these skills, because most of the time you have to collaborate with designers, developers, product owners, clients, and so on. Communication skills and presentation skills, prioritization and time management is also really important. So think like a UX designer. As I said you earlier, UX is everywhere. So everything we interact in daily basis, we come up with better designs, bad designs. We come up with frustrated designs, frustrated experiences. So you have to think like a UX designer to gain insights from this and understand what they did wrong, how we can improve this design, how we can give better user experience. So you have to identify good and bad UX and how to improve, and finally come up with your solution to that particular UX issue. So what is UX portfolio and how to build? So let me ask you one question. Do you have any UX experience? Like do you have any portfolio already built in these platforms, or any customized platform? Dribble, Behance, or Flickr. Flickr is actually for photographers mainly, but on Behance and Dribble, do you have any profile, or do you have any design already? Do you have any design portfolio? I wanted to ask. Anyone?
I do have a portfolio, but I have not uploaded it because kind of busy doing that. But I have done little bit of not Figma or anything, but in Illustrator I have done some screens for some clients.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
but
Where is your portfolio? Is it in Dribble or Behance?
no, I have a Behance account, but I have not updated it, to be very honest.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
every time I sit to do it, I get busy or something.
Okay. Okay. So anyone else? Okay, so as a UX designer or a UI designer or anyone in the creative field, if you are looking for a job, you should have a portfolio. So that is the first thing you uh, so they ask you to send, should have, don't put full intro designs, I'm sorry, and don't for you have to put at least 2 or 3. Let me know if you can't hear me. Can you hear me?
You were breaking up, Mr. Savinder.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, there's a bit of latency as well. I hope you can follow up. So let show
Still, it's
you
breaking.
port that this is actually my portfolio. Okay. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Yes, Mr. Savinder, can hear you.
Sorry about that. So this is my portfolio. So if I show it to you, we can write case studies regarding the projects we did. So these are some projects I have done recently. So I have 6 projects in my portfolio. So if I go to one of these, I have the case study. So the role is UX researcher and UX designer. I mentioned the time frame and brief description about the project, and then we go to introduction. So introduction, I give them the introduction about the project, what is it about, and then in the problem, what is the problem we are going to solve, and what is the solution we came up with. Then we describe the process. First we empathize with users and define goals, and then ideate and prototype and finally test. So I will describe this in later sessions, and then we have to present the features and all the things, results and conclusion we came up with. So you also have to create a portfolio like this for all the projects you did so far. But you one thing that recruiters are looking is you have to mention your design thinking process clearly. Even if you have good designs, good graphics in your design, if you can't describe your design thinking process, if you can't like tell them what were you thinking when you come up with particular design, they won't hire you because you can't communicate your design thinking process. So always a good practice to write case studies and think like a UX designer when you apply for a particular position. So that is all regarding the portfolio. And so I invite all of you to create portfolios on Dribble or Behance. And if you haven't done any projects up until now, we are doing a project as a capstone project in the end of this sessions. So you can put that project there and you can add more projects. So if you have one project when you're applying for a job, it won't help you that much. If a person have like 4 5 projects, he will get the job. So what I wanted to tell you is, even when I started my career, I haven't had much projects to put on my website. So what I did
You're breaking up. You're breaking up, Mr. Savinder.
from your friends, or you can do a project for a charity or someone, and
Mr.
you can
Savinder,
them
you are
to
breaking up.
love meeting. Give me 1 minute. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm really sorry about the connection today.
No worries. No worries.
So let's go back. Yeah, I was mentioning about the interview process. So if you when I started my career, I also haven't had any projects to put on my website or portfolio. So what I did was I got projects from charities and some of my friends and did projects for them most of the time for free. So in that way, I can build my portfolio, because people won't give me projects if I don't have a sounding portfolio. So if you have 2 3 projects, 2 3 good projects on your portfolio, you can apply for freelancing projects or any other like job. So you can get more, you will be more noticeable when comparing to the person who don't have any projects in the portfolio. So portfolio is number one. So that is the only thing that recruiters requesting you to send with the resume. If you have so much experience mentioned in your resume, if you don't have any portfolio, they won't hire you. So that is another thing I wanted to mention. So any questions so far? Okay. Now I will give you one book suggestion. So this is design of the book name is Design of Everyday Things, which is done by Don Norman. So Don Norman is actually, we can call him the father of UX designer. He is the one who lead the UX design team of early Macintosh computer as well. So NNN, this is NNN Group is founded by him. So you can go to that website and learn some things new, and even this book will give you an idea about how to think like a designer, what how can you differentiate good design and bad design. So which is really important when you move forward as a UI and UX designer. So I will add more book suggestions when we are moving forward, but this design book is must if you are going to become a UX designer. So if you have any questions, you can ask. In the meantime, I will share a Figma link. If you don't have Figma, you can sign up and join this link. Let me.
Mr. Savinda, I think Miss Purnima has asked a question on the chat.
Yeah, let me see.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's asking, can we add personal projects to our portfolio? Personal projects. Yes, if you are creating a portfolio for yourself, you can add that project to your portfolio as well. But when you are creating a project for a client, before you adding that to your portfolio, you have to get the consent from the client. Ask him that, is it okay if I add this to my portfolio? If he give you permission only, then add to your portfolio. Otherwise, you will have to deal with copyright issues as well. So you can add your own projects, personal projects to your portfolio. Is it clear? Okay. So the Figma link. Okay, I added a Figma link on group chat. People who don't have Figma accounts, you can easily sign up using Google or Facebook. So I invite you to sign up and open this board. We are going to do one basic design on Figma because we have time. You have to sign up. In the meantime, I will create frames for all of you. You can rename your artboard if I have added the wrong name. Ishan is here, Yazir is here, Purnima is here. How about others?
Mr. Saminda, I changed the name from Ekta to Yazir.
Okay,
If it
cool.
is okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Only 3 people are here. Can others please join? Please join the link I added on Zoom chat, the Figma file. Okay, what are we going to do is until everyone is joining, I think that is enough time to join. So let's start with the design. So we are going to design this particular web page as a starter for the Figma course. So Figma, I'm going to introduce you to Figma like thoroughly next week. But since we have much time today, so we are going to design this particular elements. So we are going to start with, I'm going to unlock this first. So we are going to start with this web page. So I only need you to take care. Let's see this part only. Let's this web page part only. So let's say
Hello.
first thing I'm going to, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so your screen is not visible.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay, can you see now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have, okay, we have 4 people here. So we are only going to design this part here, the web page part, above the fold part. There are few elements here. One is the logo, navigation, and then we call this hero text. So this part, the topic, and the description, and we have a call to action button here, discover more, and we have 2 boxes with images here, and we have 1 image. So first we are going to start with the top part. So the logo and the navigation. So what we're going to do is we are not going to follow like normal design. I will tell you about the atomic design. So atomic design, we first start with atoms. So atoms, and then we do the molecules, and then finally we call them species, the final design. Okay, now the atoms is something it is the basic elements. So in this design, in this website, the basic elements can be this text, this arrow key, this image. The basic element are atoms. The molecules can be these cards. So this card consists of image, text, and also a box. So we can call them a molecule. It consists of these atoms. And finally, the species. So species is like complete design. This complete web page, you can call it pieces. It consists of molecules. Molecules consist of atoms. So atomic design is really important when you are doing a design, specifically in the large scale project or even in the field software companies, because it gives us like elements, reusable elements, components, where our developers can take from you and develop easily. So if we, when I create an element, I will show it to you. It will give this developer setting. So users can easily get the code for a React or a AngularJS or anything without worrying about much. So it is good for reusability, as well as if you do a design system. Design system is something that we develop when we creating a design for a particular project. So if we have a design system, we have particular buttons, button states, hover states, default state, inactive state. We are going to design all these in molecule section. So let's start with this particular section. So let's, I will start it here. I will increase the font size for you to see it, but it is not recommended to increase the font size. But in case if you don't see it, it's okay. Let's first, this is the logo. So, and then they have a small line on top of it. So I'm going to create that as well. So we'll increase the thickness. So let's say this is the logo. So what I can do is, for the logos, we are going to group and we call it a logo. And then we keep it here. And then because we are going to design atoms first, and finally we are going to put them here in our frame. So this is the logo we have just created. So if you are creating a logo, you have to make sure you select the font and then flatten outline stroke. So if you don't outline stroke, it will it won't change the size. I will show you an example. So here only the line is changing the size, but text don't. So if you select an outline stroke, it will change the size like this. Everyone can see my screen, right? Yazir?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Okay. So next
Yes,
thing,
Mr. Sir.
okay, cool. Okay, next thing we are going to do is we are going to create this navigation bar. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements there. So what first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create the first one. So I call this inspiration. Always make sure you don't type in block capitals, just type in normal sentence case. And if you click here, you have more options, text options. You can select uppercase from here. So it will make it uppercase. Because if you type in lowercase or uppercase, then the developer doing the code, he don't know that it should be transferred to the uppercase in the CSS. So always make sure you do your design in lowercase and use this uppercase tool like feature here on Figma itself. I'm going to reduce the font size of this to 32. Let's say 24. And then I'm going to change the color to match this color. Okay, now we have that. So you can see there's a chevron, like a down arrow icon here. So we are going to add that as well. So in order to add that, you have to go to plugins manage plugins and search for material symbols. So this will give you access to Google Material Design Library. I will show you material symbols. Otherwise, you have to download the icon in SVG and paste it here. It will be really time consuming. So if you install the plugin, it will be easier and it will give access to all Google icons in this website, Google Fonts. So go to plugins and search for material symbols and install that plugin. And then after you install it, go to plugins and click on material symbols and it will load. So if I search for an icon with down, it will give me all these icons. So icon I need is something similar to this. So I'm going to put that. So that icon is here. So I'm going to put it next to this and close this window and change the color of this to match our color. Okay, now we have menu element, menu item. So I'm going to frame it, don't group it, I'm frame it, frame selection, and name it as link. Then you can see that this is not aligned, this is not middle aligned. So in order to align it, what we can do is we are going to auto layout, click on that, and then clicking on this. Now it is aligned perfectly in the center and the middle. So here, if you type any other text, so you can see it is responsive. So it will change according to your content, text content size. So now we have link, first link. Now we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this 5 of this. And the second shop link don't have the arrow key. So I'm going to hide it. I'm not going to delete it because our link element should have that, because we have links with collapse as well. So I'm going to hide it. And even for the resources, it should be there. About us, contact, we can hide. Okay, now we have to edit the text. The second one is shop. The third one is resources. And the fourth one is about us. And finally, contact. Okay, now we have all these buttons. Now we have to create the navigation bar, the one with the box shadow, white color. So in order to do that, we have to select all these and we have to frame them again. And I'm calling it nav because it is our navigation bar. And then I'm going to give it a background color, white. And give it auto layout as well because we need to center these elements. And then heading for the y-axis, I'm going to give 8. For the x-axis, it's give 8. So it has some padding, but in order to match this style, we have to give more padding. So in order to do that, I will give this one 30. And this one 30 as well. So it is kind of similar to this design. I'm designing it like in large scale because otherwise you won't be able to see it. So right now we have this design here and we need a gap between each element. So right now it is little too much. So I'm reducing it to 64. Now it is arranging perfectly. So if we want to change the font, like right now this font looks like it's bold. So in our font, it doesn't. So in order to do that, we can go and select one of our fonts by clicking on the text element and one of our fonts and go to edit, select all with same font. Now it will select all with same font. We'll select these as well, but it doesn't matter. I will change the font to medium or semi-bold. Let's say medium. Now we have our navigation bar. So it has a box shadow as well. I'm going to add box shadow. I have to go to effects and then box shadow. I'm going to give this 15 and spread. Okay, this similar to this. Now, even if we change the size of this, let's say layout. Okay, everything is good. Now I invite all of you to do the navigation bar first. Then after that, we can move on to others elements. So then I will group this navigation bar and menu and put it in top. But can everyone start with the navigation bar? Do you remember what I did first?
Mr. Saminda, I have a question. Can I ask?
Yeah, sure.
Mr. Saminda, you said not to group, but to make it as a, what do you call, make it
Frame.
into a frame. Is there any particular
Yeah.
reason for that?
Yeah. Now let's take this for example. Now I will show you one example. Let's say we have this text. Okay. Now we group that particular thing. When we group it, we have fill options. We don't have any options to put the background. Can you see the fill and the stroke? It is just text properties. But if you add a text and frame the text, let's say frame, you have auto layout, fill options and everything. So if you are designing a logo or something, you can use a group. But if you are designing responsive and reusable elements, components, you should always use frame. Clear?
Yes, Mr. Saminda. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Okay. All right. Now, always make sure you are using frames, not groups. Groups are only for graphic designs and logo designs, images, and so on. Can you replicate this action, like this navigation bar in your screens? If you haven't used Figma up until now, I invite you to, after the lecture, you can go through all these. And there are quite a lot of videos on YouTube how to use particular tool. So I will roughly go through all of this. The file, you can create a new file, and in edit, like we did, we selected text. So those options are there. It is pretty straightforward. You can simply read them and perform actions here. And also, if I introduce you to this toolkit, this is the movable tool and scale tool, and this is the frame we use, and we can put select section in like number of frames. We can group frames in a section, and you can slice as well. And these are some drawing tools: rectangle, line, arrow, line tool, and pencil tool, and text. And you can add widgets and plugins from here you can access. And even if you created components, we are creating components. If we have and here you can move your artboard and you can add comments. It is important when we are creating a design with a team. Okay, those and you can see all the in our sessions. Okay, now we have 20 minutes. So can you guys do the exercise when you have time? Like, can you do it next week, during the week, and come up with next week? In the meantime, I will describe you about components. So here, let's say, okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, you can refer to the video and do the navigation bar later. So I will do buttons have different components. So you can see here, this button have different state when we are hovering over it. Change the color. And inactive button will have different state. So right now I'm going to tell you how to create those buttons with different states. The first thing we have to do is we have to create the button text. I'm going to select the size and let's say sign up as the button text. So then I'm going to remove this thing and then sign up in simple letters. Okay, now we are going to frame it and call it a button. I'm going to add the fill color to the button. Let's add this blue color, and the font color I'm going to change it to white. And then I'm going to go to auto layout and add some padding. So in x-axis I'm going to give 15, let's say 30, y-axis 15. Okay, this is our button. I will add more padding to show it to you. So here 30. So this is our button, and we can put a border radius of 5 and auto layout, and everything is good. Here's our button, and we can put an icon as well just to show. I'm going to add this arrow right here and increase the size to 64, let's say. Yeah, and change the color to white. And in buttons, I'm going to gap of 60. So with the text 60. This is 30. So this is one button. And then we have to create hole. So fold. So we see without moving or anything. And then we have the hover state. When we mouse, it will change the color. So I'm going to the color to more darker shade. So to this color. So you see it is in. And I'm going to add which is disable. This is state. Now I'm change the color to the normal color. Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Suddenly it went black. The screen
Yeah.
was.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. Let me. You were there when I created the default button, right? Is it?
Yeah, when you created this, we were there, I think.
Okay. So we have two more states. So I'm going to create two more states. One is for mouse over, we call it hover, and then for the inactive state, let's say disable. So the mouse over button, we are going to change the color. I'm going to put more darker shade of the blue so you can see it. And for the disable button, I'm going to reduce the color opacity of the button by 50%. So it will display like this. Now what we are going to do is we are going to reusable component. In order to create a reusable component, we have to select all these three buttons, and then you have here. On here we have a button called create component set. We are going to click on that. So the component one has created. It has three variants. So component one, I'm going to rename it as button. So button component has properties. The first property one, I'm going to rename it as state because it is the state of the button. The first is default, second is hover, and third is disable. So we have this button. So when we are doing a design, let's say we are starting with the design and creating a frame. So let's take this. I'm going to increase the size a little bit. And we already have these components in our library. How we can access this is we can go to assets and we have our local components here. So if you drag and drop it in your artboard, it will give you the component. Okay. Now again, if you drag and drop another one, it will give you the component. And we have three. Now, if we check the status here, this is default state. And this one is also default state, but we can change it to hover. Now it will change the color. Now, if we change this to disable, it will give us another button. So we don't have to create buttons again and again in our design. We can simply use these reusable buttons in everywhere of our design. Now, even when we are prototyping, it is easier when we are using this button. So let's show that example as well. So here we have prototype section. So we click on that. And in order to create a effect, we have to click on interactions. And I'm going to give the mouse over control first. So while hovering, we are going to change to disable, change to hover. So while mouse hovering, this will change color. So I can show it to you in a prototype. Let me show it to you. Here is our flow starting point. So you always have to start a flow to open a presentation. I will describe the prototypes later, but this is a basic example. So then we are clicking on this. Am I still connected?
Yes, Mr. Savinder.
Okay. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to, okay, until it's loading, let's keep it here. Next week, we are going to discuss Figma in more detail. So I invite you to do this navigation bar and complete this part, as I mentioned, by using auto layout, as well as if you can use components, please use components to create these reusable elements such as these buttons and so on. So I will check it next week. I think my internet connection is not. Okay, I will present it to you next week. Actually, what it do is it will change the colors so you can see the interaction easily. So we will discuss it later. I will promise you I will have a better internet connection next week. I'm really sorry about today.
No worries.
Okay, is there anything that you want to ask? We have 10 minutes to ask questions. So this part, please do it. And this is your artboard, so you can do it here. If there's any questions, you can ask on WhatsApp group chat or send me an email. Is there any questions you can ask? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and now you have given us this, so we have to replicate the exact same thing on our thing, yeah?
Not exactly the same thing. You have the independence to create your own thing, but you have to follow like auto layout. And if you can create components, if you remember, if you can follow the video recording and create component, it will be great, because reusable components is really important when we are designing an application for a client or blue collar job or anything. So it doesn't have to be the same, but basic structure should be there. It should have a menu, text, image, call to action button, and these kind of elements. Clear?
Yeah, Mr. Savinder, thank you very much.
Okay. Anyone else? You can ask on Zoom chat as well. Okay, let's ask one by one. Heshan, do you have any question?
No, Mr. Salim. No.
Okay. Okay, Nishani?
Sir, I'm very new to this UI UX and Figma tool also. So I'll go through the presentation and I'll come up with you if I have any questions.
Yeah, you can send a message on WhatsApp group chat, so I will be able to answer.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Purnima? And then Senuri. Heshan, can you mute your
Sorry, yes, sir. Sorry,
mic?
sorry. Yes.
No, sir.
Okay. And then Senuri is the one who answered, right? And then Vijay Mala, do you have any
No, any
questions?
doubt at the moment, sir.
Okay. If you have any questions, you can send a message on. So you have to do this next week. I will check it next week as well. Next week we are going to do let's see, introduction, well, Figma design essentials, industrial Figma design techniques, design presentation. I gave you a rough idea about how industrial design work regarding the atomic design and design and presentation techniques where we can present our designs. And I'm really sorry again about my connection. So we'll meet next week. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Savinder. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.